Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Call for YouTube back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to give my reaction review to episode 75. Here we go. This is written by Art Wallace, directed by John Seven. So here we go. So we're here at the Great House. You see the camera pulled back. It was zoomed in. We see the entire house. We're at Widow's Hill. We get a tracking shot of Matthew Morgan going through the little wooded area that leads to Widow's Hill. And who's standing there? Roger. Roger says he's enjoying the view. I love Roger tells Matthew, you have no soul. Roger sees the beauty of Widow's Hill. He sees the sea, and he sees the ship sailing out to it. Roger is a hopeless romantic. You gotta give him that. Matthew, ocean and sky, they're always there, which is true. Again, Roger is continuing the celebration of what the sheriff has decided, what the sheriff has broke the news as in the previous episode, that Bill Malloy's death was ruled an accident. That's why Roger's so happy to continue what had happened. So again, this is the same day, so we're inside Colwyn now. There's Victoria Winters. She's upstairs. She's coming down the stairs now. I love how they, in the previous scene, we saw the look on Matthew Morgan's face, like, what are you talking about? Why are you so happy? Here comes Carolyn. So Vicky says, no more arguments. Carolyn says, I couldn't argue with a fly today. I'm Carolyn Star Weekend Lamb. Happy Lamb. Carolyn said the strange thing about the room sometimes I hate it. She's talking about the drawing room that they're in. I love how they have the fire behind her going. She's talking about Burke. So Carolyn is breaking the news to Victoria that Bill Malloy's death has been ruled accidental death by drowning, and She's also talked about Burke Devlin previously, how he's received the news. He's received news, and to her, to Carolyn, again, this is when you get into different character interaction. They do a really good job because to Carolyn, it's like, well, Burke can't pound his fist and be mad anymore. He's received his answer from up on high. It's the coroner. But here's the thing: Burke doesn't accept that result. Little does Carolyn know. I mean, she gets a sense he's angry, but Vicky asking if the coroner's verdict is final, and she goes, "Of course." Or is it? Does we cut back to Widow's Hill? Roger says the coroner's finding is legal and binding. He could care less about Devlin, how Devlin feels. Burke. So they're standing by Widow's Hill. They're having a Roger Dirt jokes to Matthew Morgan. You could always try to kill him again. This is your first hit, Is this your first hit? Matthew may have killed Bill. No, this is actually your second, and you should really go back and pay attention to this episode. Matthew says, "I don't like to talk about killing people." I'm gonna leave another link, by the way. I'm gonna leave links to these episodes. Start leaving links to these episodes. There'll be no more talk of murder, Matthew. That's exactly what it means. This is where Matthew sounds even more. This is the episode where, if you thought Matthew sounded guilty for pushing the body back in the water, this is the episode where Matthew sounds like a man on a mission. Like he's like, there'll be no more questions by the sheriff. Like he's asking more than Roger is, and he's talking to Roger. By the way, yeah, the scar is starting to fade a bit, as you can see. It's still there though. What wrong? Maybe you lied to the sheriff. Matthew reflects back on Roger. Well, maybe you lied to the sheriff, and it's like I didn't lie to the sheriff. He's sort of Matthew does not sound. No, the advertisement. So yeah, Matthew sounds like a man who's guilty, and he should because he is. Roger is all too happy about the coroner's news. Matthew is more questioning the news. And now you could say Burke's questioning the news, but Burke's not questioning news. To, there's two different characters, Morgan, Matthew Morgan, Burke Devlin. And they're both questioning the result. They're both questioning that the coroner's version is the final result. The biggest difference is Burke is more questioning the findings of the result. He doesn't believe it was accidental death by Johnny. Whereas Matthew Morgan is going, oh, there'll be no more questions about murder. Being like he's not looking at it as another way of going, oh, so they had a result, this is it. No. He is saying he is worried that this isn't it. And there's a big difference between the two reactions. Really well done by Thayer David. Thayer David does a great job playing Matthew Morgan and does a really great job. Uh, we're back at Halloween now. Sorry, these commercials are long. And it's Carolyn. She's all dressed up and ready to kill. Not really kill, but she's dressed up. There's Vicky looking out the window in a sweater. I like how when they're wearing like these long dresses or the long sleeves to give you an indication of the cold weather of the main town, right? If you hear the wind and stuff, but what also sells the coldness of Collinsport is sometimes the way the men and women dress at Collinwood. They did a really good job with the clothing choices of these episodes. Give the devils their due. Really, really great job. So now she's talking about how Burke's not gonna be satisfied. So there. She talks about how Burke reacted. He got angry. And Vicky asked if Carolyn told her mother this. She says no, not really. Vicky invites Carolyn for a walk along the beach. She goes no, no thanks. Keep your mind on the caviar champagne. Just to go look up on the beach. So Carolyn says about if you see Uncle Roger, tell him I'm down to see him. And Matthew Morgan comes in and says, Roger, Mr. Collins is up by Widow's Hill. Carolyn suggests to Vicky to go to Lookout Point Beach because it has a nice beach. It has seashells. So, on Carolyn's suggestion, that is where Victoria is going to go. By the way, we get an on location shot here. We see her coming out Seaview Terrace, and they use a tracking shot of Victoria walking out the house down the steps. Great job. Again, we don't get a ton more of these, but when we do get them, they're fun to see. And here's Roger on top of Widow's Hill. He's throwing rocks out, and there's Victoria Winters. Not finding Charlie. She scares Roger. Taylor reminds Roger, that's what you did to me my very first day, which was come up behind me and scare me. I love how Roger sits down here and he says all the trials and tribulations feel over. He names the rock Burt Devlin. Never to be heard from again as he throws the rock into the sea. Great job. Great job having that and showing the sea where the rock went, right? They do great camera work on this show. And I love how we're getting an actual shot of the rocks and the ocean here, and we hear Roger's voice. Do you believe in fate? She said, I never will thought about it. Roger says, I'm so certain of my survival. She, so she asked, so in that conversation, Victoria asked Roger, how do I get to Lookout Point? He says, why do you want to know? He says, well, Carolyn suggested that I go there, and Rogers says, are you aware that's where they believe Bill Malloy died, Lookout Point? Um, and she says, no. She says, oh, Carolyn wanted to see you because Roger says he's headed back to the house, and this is where we see Roger head back to is in the house talking to Carolyn. And yes, Roger did tell her how to get to Lookout Point. He told her, you better hurry up. The tide comes in 3 hours. Carolyn says she was sure worried. This is where she brings up the pen. Carolyn brings up the pen in this episode. Burke Devlin. And we see Victoria at Lookout Point, at the beach at beneath Lookout Point. I love how this is a tracking shot. This is an on location scene. We get Vicky at the beach. We get the ocean. This is. I hope if Mark B. Perry gets a series of proof, I hope we get stuff like this. I'm a sentimental sucker for on location shots. You think I stole a fountain pen? You did say you returned it. And now he says, I don't know what you're talking about. And she says about Mark Devlin giving me the fountain pen. He says, don't you remember? Vaguely, he says. And she says, you weren't vague about it when I came home with it that night. And she's right, he wasn't. Oh, now he remembers, of course, the pen. Silver. Quite expensive, Carolyn says. Didn't you? It was the night you were going to the meeting at the office. The night Mr. Malloy died. It was right here. It was about at 9 o'clock. I showed you the pen. You took it from me. Put it in your pocket. And you said you were going to give it back to Bert. Furious at me. Did you remember that very well? I did see him. Talk to him. I mentioned the pen to him. I just like, give it back. By the way, Roger just says, I wish you'd stay away from that man. You were going to give it back to him at the office, but you didn't have it with you. That's what he told. That's what he told Bertha. Yes. Roger says he does remember telling Bill Malloy or telling Bert Devlin didn't have the pen. I'll fly to go first in the morning. Jokes about it. Must be. Roger just feels it must be in the house somewhere. Now, Roger will try to call the sheriff, tell him mount a full investigation. And Carolyn starts laughing. Put the pen in the pocket. Which he did. They do a really good job of recalling that, too, here. Because everything being recalled is right. Could you have lost it along the way? Right? Must have left it somewhere here in the house. And Roger says yes. Roger's trying to think of what he did with that pen. And Vicky bends down at the beach. She's picking something up. It's in her hand. Nope, not the pen yet. Then she sees something. Now she bends back down. And guess what she finds? The pen. It's the pen of destiny. No, it's the pen. It's the pen that Burke gave Carolyn. And she found it at Lookout Point. And I love how they have a close up of Alexandra's face, her looking around the beach, like, where did this thing come from? And she looks up at Lookout Point Hill. Great camera work. Great camera work. Matthew, have you seen a fountain pen? A pen, miss? Have a silver design on it? No, I haven't. Please, no, of course, miss. And Matthew leaves the house. I love how you see the door open. And he asks Matthew Morgan, Rogers upset, why the devil did you ask him? Why not? What difference does it make? Not much, half of much as I do. Why are you upset that I mentioned it to Matthew? You keep looking around that. Go right up. Just do as I said. Matthew comes back in the house. Mr. Devlin, his car just came up to drive. Yes. Matthew, you want me to get Miss Stoddard? He's like, yes, I think you better. He's come, Karen. The end of our happy day. Spur. Knocking at the door, pounding at it. Uh, and that's where the episode ends. It's a great tease and setup for the very next episode because you're going to have this big confrontation um, between Burke, Elizabeth, Roger. I mean, it is things again. Things are just getting started, and you gotta love it. What would I title this episode? Um, what would I title this episode? A search for the pen. Part. No, the pen at Lookout Point. Better yet, the pen beneath Lookout Point because it's found right beneath Lookout Point at the beach. That's where she finds it. It's right beneath Lookout Point. Again, great camera work. As much as I love the acting in this show, I love when we get a good camera shot of a location. Vicky looking up at Lookout Point was a beautiful idea. I don't know whose idea that was, but that was a cool idea. Her at the beach, finding the pen and looking up. Great job. All right, guys. I'm gonna get another review up for you later tonight. Have a good night. Have a have a good night. Have a good day.